Hello guys, Dejan here. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video I will show you how to paint Jayth Cutthroats for the Combined Army. Following this guide you will be able to paint both of these miniature for this box, and for the little taiga creature I will do a separate video, and as well you'll be able to paint the same guy from the booster pack alpha from the Combined Army. So let's start! I will show you how to paint these models using the model from the booster pack from the Combined Army for the Code 1, because his position is most open, so it will be very accessible for me to paint and show you all the details. I'm going to start by priming the model with the black primer. And I will do this in 3 very thin layers. So I will apply the first layer and then wait it to dry, and then apply the second one, and after everything is dry apply the final layer. So this next step is completely optional, but while I had my airbrush out, I just put a little gray paint inside the airbrush, and I just did a couple of puffs on the top areas of the armor that is going to stay black, just to make it much easier to highlight it later, so I don't need to do that much work. If you don't have an airbrush you can easily skip this step and your miniature will look almost the same as mine at the end. The most important thing that you want to achieve when you're priming your model is to have a good coverage all around, so that you cannot see any metal parts under it, and if you plan to remain some parts of the model black, as I did here, you want to apply a primer in the 2 layers, so it will be a little difficult to chip the model later. First I'm going to paint his scales on the arms and the neck. For this I'm going to use a heavy green, and I'm just going to paint it in one thin coat. I put this color on a wet palette. I added a drop of water, so as you can see it goes very easy from my brush, and I just went around very carefully and I just painted these green scales. I will show you a different way how to paint the scales on his chest. The first thing that I'm going to do is to mix sunny skin tone with the white, like 50-50 mix, and I'm going to paint the scales on his chest, on his back and on his legs, because I want them to be a different color. The thing is, I want them to be a much warmer and a brighter colors, so for this I need to repaint black, because if I paint over the black they will look dark. So next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to use a Scarlet Red and repaint the all areas that I previously painted with the sunny skin tone. Because sunny skin tone is under it, you will see that this color looks very warm and very bright. If I painted it over black, it won't look not even close to this tone. Now I'm going to start doing the highlights. I will start first with the clean orange, and I'm going to use this paint to paint like 90% of the areas that I did before, but I won't go inside the recesses, so I will focus mostly on the raised parts of the muscles and the raised parts of the scales. So it is like almost you're painting the whole area, just not the recesses. And I went this in 2 very thin coats so that I have a really brighter tone. As you can see, it's now moving towards the orange. For the next step I use the Vallejo red ink, and I'm going to use this ink to create my shadows. So with this paint I will go only inside the recesses, so you won't go anywhere else except in the recesses. This step is very important because it will give the shadows and the contrast to this part of the model. So be patient and just go around. This color flows very nicely because it's ink. It will mostly go by itself inside the recesses. And for the highlights, I'm going to use the orange fire, and this will be done on the most raised areas and only thin lines. So if you let's say these scales on his leg, you will cover like each scale maybe like half of it, like maybe just the 50%. So don't go inside the recesses, don't go too deep, and don't cover too much, because if you put a lot of this paint, it will turn into really bright orange, and we actually want it to stay a little on the red side. And for the last and the final highlight, I'm going to use a sunny skin tone. This will be applied only in the small lines, just to define the final highlights on this model. So it's going to be a very thin lines, like you're doing like the edge highlighting on these scales on his legs. So don't go too much and don't overdo it. Now I'm going to show you a different version of doing the similar thing with the green scales, but this time we are going to use the wash. So first thing, I will use the green tone, which is the Army Painter green wash, and I will just wash the all areas of the scales that I want them to be green. So this is done with the one thick coat of wash, and just left everything after that for like 20 minutes for the wash to settle down properly and dry. Then I'm going to start with the highlights. First thing, I will use refractive green, and I will use this color same as in the previous step. I'm going to use it to repaint all the scales, and this will be my final tone of the skin, but I will avoid going inside the recesses because at this moment your shadows are already defined, so you don't want to ruin them or go to do any work them after this. For the final highlight, I'm going to mix sunny skin tone with the refractive green. It is like 50-50 mix, but you can add a little more of sunny skin tone after, just to make it a little brighter and to pop up. And I'm going to do this as my final highlight, so this will be a really small highlight. You will focus only on the edges and only on the sharper lines on the scales. Now I'm going to paint all the LEDs on his armor. For this, it will be a few very simple steps. Actually, I will use royal purple, and I will just paint them very carefully and very precise with this color. And I will try not to mess all the previous work that I did with the airbrush. So I used one of my smallest brushes. I think I'm using like 0 or 00 for this step. Then I'm going to add a little of white into this royal purple, so it will turn really pinkish. And I'm just going to put a few dots in the like upper left corner as my highlight. For my next step, which is one of the most important steps actually in painting this model, will be highlighting all the model with the white color. So I'm going to use one of my smallest brushes, and I'm focused on going to edge highlight every single sharp edge on every armor panel and weapon as well on this model. So I will try to make like a 45-degree or 90-degree angle with my brush against the surface of the model. When that is not possible, I'm trying very carefully to use only tip of my brush and draw the small lines. This will be like a time-consuming process. It took me maybe like a 25 minutes, even maybe a half an hour to highlight the whole model. But at the end, the effect will be really satisfying and the model will look amazing already. So after this, we only have to do like a couple of little details and we will finish this project. First, I'm going to use Mahagony brown and paint the barrel of his combi rifle. So I will apply it in two very thin coats, but be extremely careful at this stage because I already highlighted black. In any case, if you make any mistakes, just pick up the black paint and do the white highlight again and just correct it. Now for the second stage, take the orange brown and just paint like really small area in the center of your highlight. So I applied this in two very thin coats to have a good tone of this paint. And then for my final highlight, I used the sunny skin tone and I mixed it a little with the orange brown. And then I used like a stippling technique to draw my final highlight at the middle of the barrel. One of the last details that we had to do is to do his mouth. So what I did here is I painted inside area and the gum with the basic skin tone. And I just used the red ink on top of it as my wash. And I just left it like that. Later I just pick up his teeth with white paint and that was everything I did on his face. I'm going to paint his sword now, so I will use light sea blue and I will paint the whole sword with this color. Because I'm painting it over black, it was required two variety coats to get the coverage. And then I pick up a sky blue and I just painted the cutting edge area of the sword. Then on my wet palette I actually mixed light sea blue with the sky blue and I try to blend the area in between these two colors just to create a little transition, nothing special. And then just to make everything popped up, I used white as my final highlight and I edge highlight the whole sword. And guys, I will wrap this video right here. So I will just transfer the model to his base. If you're interested how I made his base, there will be a link in the description section down below. And guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It will mean a lot to me and it will help this channel grow. And as well, ring that little bell notification button so that you don't miss any of my future videos. And guys, if you have any comments or suggestions, or you would like to see me painting something else or show you some different technique, please leave your comment in the section down below and I will try to do my best. This will be all for now. Stay safe, take care, and see you soon. Bye bye.